Alright, homesteaders, I'm going to teach you guys how to make your own spigots for 275-gallon IBC Totes. The items you want to have are a 2-inch threaded on one side, smooth on the other side coupler. You want a smooth adapter with 3/4 inch threads on the top. You want a 3/4 inch brass regular threads on the one side and hose adapter on the other. Another thing you're gonna need is some plumber's putty, which I recommend instead of Teflon tape. Some cement glue for PVC and some PVC primer. So what we're gonna do first is we're going to go ahead and use the plumber's putty. We're going to go ahead and install the brass valves onto the adapters. So basically all you do is take some plumber's putty. I recommend gloves because I don't like getting all the different chemicals on my skin. But you just take it and you rub it in the threads and you just push it down. Make it a little bit smooth. Just make sure you fill all the threads up all the way around. And basically, once you do that, just run your finger around slowly to smush it in. Then you go ahead, take the brass valve, or you can get plastic. But I use brass because the plastic ones seem to always want to break. And you go ahead and thread the threaded valve in, not the hose side, but the ones that are made for it. And then you just need a crescent wrench. You just go ahead and you tighten it down until you can't go any farther. Make sure you don't over tighten because you don't want to crack any plastic. But you just go till you can't go anymore. And then as you see, there's plumber putty in there. All you do is take your finger and smooth it down. And if you can, pull whatever excess out. So that's one completed. Once we install it in here and we let it dry, then tomorrow, which I'll show you, we're going to go ahead and tighten this more with channel locks holding onto the adapter. So let's go ahead and get the next one. And go ahead and get the third one. Now with the 275-gallon IBC totes, I'll show you those tomorrow. They're a big water tank inside of a metal crate. You can go on Craigslist or online and look up different tank companies that sell them cheap. You want to make sure you get ones that had food grade products in it, like syrup. You don't want the ones with oil and things like that if you're going to be drinking the water like I do for rain catchment. And normally you can get them online. I go on Craigslist in my area, and there's a delivery from Lafayette, Colorado, which is about, I think, 5 or 6 hours away from where I'm at. And they deliver into Colorado Springs, which is about an hour and a half from me, about once a month. What I do is I go ahead, they sell dirty ones for $90, and they have about 1 inch to 2 inches of syrup left in the tanks. They have a steam cleaner that they can clean the tanks, and they run about $130. So my recommendation is if you can find one that will clean the tanks, I highly recommend you get them steam clean and pay the extra money to have them steam cleaned. Not only does it get rid of the syrup, but it's less hassle for you. And as you know, syrup is sticky, So unless you have your own steam cleaner, I highly doubt you're going to get the tank cleaned, and then you're going to have flavored water, and it will gunk up your connectors and your valves and everything like that. So once I go ahead and get this one tightened, then we'll go ahead and crack the PVC primer, and we'll go ahead and get everything primed up. And what the primer does is it cleans up the PVC and it softens it a little bit so that the glue will get a good hold and make it adhere to the plastic. One thing you can do with the plumber's putty is you can get a slightly damp paper towel and put it in the top to help keep it from drying out. And as you see, these are Walmart bags that I went ahead and cut up because they're cheap, they're free, and they make awesome throwaway instead of going out and buying your own cloths and stuff like that for projects. Just cut up some Walmart bags, save your money, and deal with it the simple, easy way. You get Walmart bags every time you go grocery shopping, whether it's at Walmart or whatever grocery store you go to. So you get them for free, so why spend money on sheets and everything like that? Just go ahead and use what you have. So once I get these primed, these should be dried up by the time I get the couplers primed. And then you go ahead, you wait a couple minutes after you prime these, or not a couple minutes, but 10-15 seconds. And it doesn't have to be pretty, but these are quick adapters. They're pretty cheap to make. And what I do is I put these on all my IBC totes, so that way I'm not having to take one off, move it to the next one, take it off, move it to the next one. This way, you know, it costs you a little bit of money, but it makes life a lot easier. What I do, I have a hose adapter on my pump. I take my hose adapter on the pump, I hook it onto the hose adapter here, and I run a hose over to my cistern, and I pump the water over to the cistern. It's simple, it's easy, it's effective. Now this is the glue, and you do the same thing. You go ahead, take the glue, wrap it around the whole thing, and you're going to want to take the glue, put it inside the coupler, and then you're going to go ahead, you're going to put the adapter inside the coupler, you're going to press down and try to get it as far down as you can until it stops. Once it stops, you just let it set up, and that's going to be your final product. Then you go ahead, you take the threads, and we'll thread them on the tanks tomorrow, and I'll show you how that's done. So then we're going to take this next one, wrap it with glue, take your coupler, put glue, same thing again, put it in, press it down until it's seated. Once it's seated, it's done. Then you let it dry for, I give it 12 hours until I mess with anything. I'm sure it's less time than that, but I've learned if you give anything 12 hours to dry, 12 to 24 hours, it's a better cure than if you try to move something in 6 hours. And that's it on how to make adapters for the 275 gallon IBC tote. And we're finished installing and going over that tomorrow. Have a good night. Alrighty, after 2.5 days of snow, I can finally get these caps installed if these goats don't knock the tripod over. As you see, they're right here. They want to be around the camera. So here we go. Basically, we have the part with the brass fitting. I have, stop licking my finger. I've got an adjustable wrench. You gotta lick everything. And we're gonna go ahead and just get this started. Don't you knock that tripod over, Tote. You go ahead, get it hand tight, and then go ahead and take the brass valve, and this will finish getting the brass valve tightened. And you want it tight just like that. All right, let's go ahead and head over to a goat barn and get the next one installed. We'll go ahead and do the same thing over here. Goats. I don't get knocked over by goats. See, they know exactly what I'm doing. They've got to be in the picture. Watch out, goat. Move. Move. Thank you. Jackson, no. All right, and then as you see, with that valve on it, I can go ahead and take these rubber water dishes that I use. And I'm able to fill up the water for the goats, the chickens, everything else. And when the tanks are completely full during rainy season, I can go ahead, hook up a hose and a pump and pump the excess water up to my 3,000 gallon cistern. So that way these tanks don't overflow and I can use all the water that I get. Live happy, live free. That's the only way to be.